Vesak Day program also celebrates our Victorian multicultural and multi-faith heritage and community. We wish love and peace for all beings, healing for our earth, fellowship and unity for all through friendship.
Our Vesak program now begins with a Dhamma talk, and we welcome to the stage the Most Venerable Ajahn Brahmavamso, Abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery in Western Australia.
Very good.
We invite Ajahn to please give the Dhamma talk. Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay. I'm very happy to be here, Venerable Sangha, monks and nuns, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I've been sitting behind this curtain ever since Venerable Dhamma's talk, waiting for the curtain to open. I know that having stayed in Australia for many years, many Australians, they're not really interested these days in organised religion, which is one of the reasons they like Buddhism, because Buddhism is disorganised religion. But it still happens, it makes it work. Those of you who've ever been to Asia know that we do have programs, we don't keep to the schedule, but it happens and everybody's happy because that's humanity. And I'm very pleased to come here today to give the talk. I did notice many representatives from the different faiths, and I think I should begin by explaining the meaning of my name. Ajahn is a Thai word meaning teacher, and Brahm, the surname, means B for Buddhist, and R for Roman Catholic, A for Anglican, H for Hindu, and M for Muslim. So we welcome everyone. I do apologise if there are any people from the Jewish community here. I try to fit it in, but sometimes we just can't be perfect. But nevertheless, it's very wonderful to be here again, coming in this morning from the West, and also to relate that I was here last year, just how wonderful it is to be able to go around Australia and around the world, creating harmony and peace between not just the different religions, the different paths of Buddhism, and the different people who aren't even Buddhist. To be able to serve and give these precious teachings which the Buddha left us to help all beings. For example, just even recently I was in Indonesia, where many Christians and Muslims were coming to my talks, in fact, to show just how popular Buddhism is in our modern world. And they were telling me that Lady Gaga is soon to open a concert in Jakarta. Her ticket sold out in 2 days. My ticket sold out in only 8 hours, which shows that Buddhism is more popular than Lady Gaga. And why is that? Because the Buddhist teachings don't try and make one particular path superior to another. There's one of the teachings which many of the Buddhist monks and nuns will know is carved on stone in India, which was carved by the Emperor Asoka. And he left that message to people of all religions 2,300 years ago, and it's still there today. And he says that anyone who puts down another person's faith only succeeds in demeaning his own religion. There's a beautiful saying there, that especially as Buddhists or people of any religion, when we put down or make other people feel inferior, that is that we don't understand our own religion. So even then, they understand the importance of mutual respect, because only when there's mutual respect can there be harmony. And one important way of creating that harmony is actually learn, not just to teach the Dhamma, but to understand how other people hear us as well. Because sometimes we as Buddhists can think that we know it all and we can be so superior. We don't actually listen to how other people understand things. A good example of that is that I was at a conference in the University in Western Australia presenting alongside with a Catholic abbot of our local Benedictine monastery. Over many years we've become friends, and because we become friends, we had deep discussions where we could ask any question, challenge each other, because our friendship was stronger than any possibility of offending each other. And I remember at this conference, one of the very senior Catholic people here in Australia, Father Frank Brennan. He was the person who the government of Australia selected to try and investigate, including human rights in the Australian Constitution. And he asked me in particular, as a Buddhist, what's the Buddhist idea of God? Now, for many Buddhists, this might feel to be a curly question, because in Buddhism we don't have the concept of a creator God. But instead of just talking from a Buddhist perspective, we want to be able to take these teachings to a deeper level, to make them acceptable to others, and to also to bridge that gap between our religions in this country. So I used a saying from my friend Abbot Placid from the Benedictine Monastery north of Perth. I said, I've known this man for so many years, and he's often told me that he has a fundamental understanding, a fundamental belief that all human beings are searching for God. Now, I respect that position. This is an example of how to create harmony. I respect that position which my friend takes. So what do we Buddhists search for? We Buddhists search for peace, we search for harmony, we search for truth, and we search for the great understandings and insights which the Buddha taught us. That's what we search for. So if we're human beings too, and my friend says everybody searches for God, then that must be what God is. Truth, love, peace, harmony, those great insights which solve the problems which divide human beings. When I said that, everybody agreed. And then we had harmony between some of the greatest religions of our world. All it really takes is not arguing with each other, but understanding each other, to be able to put aside our own views for a little while and understand the world from another person's perspective. Is one of the reasons why the Buddhism has always been a tradition which has not just taught peace, but has actually promoted peace in a very, very positive way in our world. Buddhism doesn't have suicide bombs, which is why that I always object whenever I go through the customs in the airports. They should let me go through straight away, because we don't do terrorism or bombings. And anyway, I often say that as Buddhists, we're not scared of a terrorist bomb, because I travel a lot on aircraft. I travel so much that some of my supporters once asked me, aren't you afraid of dying in an aircraft explosion at 30,000 feet set off by a terrorist? I said, of course not, because there are three advantages in Buddhism of dying at 30,000 feet in an aircraft explosion. The first advantage is an instant cremation. If any of you have ever organised a funeral ceremony for your relations, it takes such a lot of time, and it's very, very expensive. And an aircraft explosion at 30,000 feet is done on the spot. That's the first advantage. The second advantage is how much the funerals cost you. They're so expensive. And if you die at 30,000 feet in an aircraft explosion, not only is it free, but the aircraft company pays your family some money. So you make some money out of the death. And the third advantage is even the best. If you die at 30,000 feet, you're so close to heaven, it's easy to go the rest of the way. Which is an example of why Buddhism is getting very popular in our modern world, is because it has a philosophy which is so positive. Recently, actually just a week ago, I was in Kuala Lumpur giving a series of talks, and they gave the theme of my series of talks, don't worry, be happy. Easy to say, isn't it? Don't worry and be happy, but many people are extremely worried about the future, are worried about their family, worried about their finances, their life, and their health. But what is worry anyway? As a Buddhist, we all know that what worry is looking to the future with a negative mind, seeing all the things which might go wrong in the future. And the opposite of that is looking at the future and seeing all the things which might go right. Looking at the future with worry is called fear. Looking at the future with a positive attitude is called hope. So I changed the title of my series of talks. Don't worry, be hopey. So I invented a new word in the English language, which I hope will get in the Collins Dictionary pretty soon. Be hopey. And I think if Australians were more hopey, rather than more worried, we'd have a much better and healthier people over here in Australia. We'd also actually to emphasise that much of our work as Buddhist teaching monks and nuns, please don't forget the nuns. I'm going to make an objection here that too often, this is Australia, the monks are sitting in the front and the nuns are way back over there. This is Australian Buddhism. So please next year the organisers go out the monks one side and the other. Because frankly, if Buddhism is going to really reach the people of Australia, it has to accommodate, without breaking the traditions, and it doesn't have to break the traditions, to accommodate to our modern world. Otherwise we'll get left behind just as a museum piece. But we work to our strengths, which is on the psychology, which Buddhism has taught for such a long time. And even just last night in my talk in Perth, which, because we use modern technology, all the talks we give over in Perth get streamed live, over 30,000 people throughout the world listen to the talks. So please, all the monks here, if you do give a Dhamma talk, please don't just keep it in your temple, just put it on the internet, stream it live. And just like we get in our temples in Western Australia, people, 30,000 people throughout the world just tune in and listen to that talk and ask questions afterwards. Last night I had a question from El Salvador, questions from, I think, Prague, and questions from New Zealand, thereby making this beautiful teaching accessible throughout the whole world. But not only that, making it very useful. Recently, when I gave a talk at the World Computer Conference in Brisbane, I gave a little simile to the people who were listening because they were very stressed out, as many people in Australia are. And this little simile made its way into the Australian newspaper, and from there is now on the Australian Stock Exchange website. Unfortunately, they haven't said where it comes from, but that's the trouble with us Buddhists. We invent all these things like modern psychology, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, meditation. We invent all these things, but we just forget to take out the patents. But nevertheless, I told this little simile, which is very powerful, which is one of the reasons why Buddhism has become so popular in our modern world, because this works easy to understand. I often hold up something, the nearest thing, and I ask, how heavy is this flower pot? And I gave this little simile over in Imperial College last October in London. Imperial College in London is full of scientists, and straight away someone looked at this and they said about 350 grams. Now that's what scientists are like, they don't understand anything. I said, no, that's not what I mean. How heavy does it feel? The longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. After 2 minutes, my arm starts to ache. In 5 minutes, I'll be in pain. In 10 minutes, I will be in agony and a very stupid monk. What should I do when it starts to get too heavy to hold comfortably? You just put it down for about 20 or 30 seconds. Buddhism is practical. If you don't believe me, you can try this at home. After 30 seconds, you put it down, you pick it up again, and it actually does feel lighter. Honestly, it feels much lighter than when I just put it down 30 seconds ago. So this is what we mean by stress in our modern world. We don't know how to put things down, to rest for a few minutes. And talking about this to business groups, to psychology groups, they realise that stress is not about how much work you have to do. There are some counsellors here, there's some people who work very hard, there's abbots of monastery, coordinators. Yes, we all work extremely hard. But the way to actually to deal with that is, it doesn't really matter how heavy is this pot of flowers. As long as you know when it gets too heavy to put it down for a few minutes and rest, then you know how to deal with stress. In fact, you don't feel stressed anymore. All it is using your brain, your mind efficiently. And of course, the best way of putting things down is a bit of meditation. Letting things be for a few minutes, resting and relaxing. But in fact, like the other stories which I told last night, place where I live in Perth, I have a big city centre, I have a monastery, so I was working 7 days a week, many, many hours a day, without sort of coming overseas to places like Melbourne, Rugby, looking after the Buddhist Society of Victoria. But I was having no rest, because every time I came to my office, to my monastery, to my place of work, it was always through lots and lots of problems to be solved, lots of business to be done. But you know a strange thing, and many of the abbots here will understand what I'm talking about. When other people came to my monastery, they said, "Oh, how peaceful it is, how beautiful it is." And I said, "Are you kidding? I have to work so hard here, there's so many things to be done. What do you mean this is a peaceful place?" If you're the abbot, your temple is a place of work. If you're a visitor, oh, it's so peaceful and so relaxing. So I decided one day a week I would visit my monastery, the monastery where I live, as a visitor, not as an abbot. I would pretend that I was a person visiting from interstate, coming into my temple and seeing it through their eyes, seeing it as a visitor, not as an owner. And then, you know, those visitors were right. It was peaceful, it was happy, and I could enjoy my own temple. Like many in home, you may go into your home and look at all the things which need to be done. Workers, you may go into your place of work and look at all the things which need to be done because you're an owner. Every now and again, be a visitor, even in your own home. Just like visitors come and say, "What a beautiful house you have." They can relax in it. Why can't you? So a little psychological trick to sometimes the house in which you live, visit it, don't own it. Therefore you can relax. Because as a Buddhist, we take life easy. For goodness sake, never do today what you can put off until tomorrow because you might die tonight. That's very deep. Think about that. Never do today what you can put off until tomorrow because you might die tonight. Because we get so stressed out. Is that the meaning of our life, to get stressed out? Of course it isn't. So practical, all you women in here, you know, you spend too much time in the kitchen. If you go home this evening, instead of washing up all the dishes in the sink, count them first of all. See how many dirty dishes there are. Compare them to the number of clean dishes on the shelves. And if the clean ones outnumber the dirty ones, quit while you're ahead. Because isn't it a case of modern people, we just do so much and we spend too little time being peaceful? I'll finish off because we're running over time. I have a very important story from our modern life. And this is maybe not so much for the monks, but especially for those of you who work very hard in your life. Father came back from work late. His 6-year-old son was waiting for him. When Daddy came through the door, the 6-year-old said, "Daddy, Daddy, how much do you earn at work every hour?" "None of your business. What does a 6-year-old need to know that for? Shut up." "But Daddy, how much dollars do you earn every hour?" "Look, I told you, it's none of your business. I'm tired. Be quiet." "But Daddy, how much do you earn?" "Right, that's it. You're grounded. Go to your room." Now, monks aren't allowed to get angry. That's why when I tell these stories, I really enjoy myself. Pretending I'm like, it's the only time I'm allowed to shout and get angry like this. So anyway, the poor young boy was sent to his room. And after the father had a cup of tea and relaxed, he realised he'd been a bit too tough on his kid. So he went up to his kid's bedroom, knocked on the door and let himself in. He said, "Sorry, son. I had a very stressful day at work. I'm very tired. I don't know why you want to know this, but actually I earn $20 an hour at my work. I'm sorry for shouting at you." And the son smiled at his dad and said, "Thank you, Daddy. Now, Daddy, can I please borrow $10? his daddy would usually really get angry again, but he'd already got angry once. He wasn't going to get angry twice. So the father gritted his teeth, took out his wallet, and gave his son a $10 bill. "Thank you, Daddy." And the son reached under his pillow and took out another $10 in notes and coins, counted out 20, and gave it to his daddy, saying, "Daddy, could I now have 1 hour of your time, please?" Do you understand the story? I told that to a Muslim lady in the Salibs, Sulawesi. She started crying because that hit her so much. A single mother was working so hard for her little son, forgetting what was really most important, spending time with her kids. So these are little messages. We can still have both in our world. If we know how to deal with stress, with some positive psychology, which Buddhism is great at, and with the harmony and peace, which we're very skilled at building, with working together. I did sort of promise that this is a little advertisement, which I'm going to say now, that I will be coming back to Melbourne in a couple of weeks' time for an Australian Sangha Association conference. Please, all the monks and nuns here, we're trying to work together for the sake of the Sangha here in Australia. So please, try and join an Australian Sangha Association. It's not run by any one monk or nun or group of monks or nuns, it's for all of us. So that together, when we can work as one Sangha, the family of the Buddha, with sons and daughters, with brothers and sisters, then we can actually do much more in Australia to further the cause of Buddhism here in this land. Sometimes there's too many Buddhist groups and Buddhist societies. We have to unite, we have to move together as one. So please let us all come together. Now, for the sake of the Buddha, so that we can show whatever sect, whatever history, whatever gender, that we can show a way in Australia, so we can show unity between ourselves, between others, to show the way of peace and harmony. Just with these few little stories gives you a taste. The taste of freedom, the taste of peace, the taste of harmony. Thank you for listening.